Wake up. You are not relaxing. You are decaying. You keep insisting that you desire a completely different life trajectory, yet every single morning you awaken and systematically feed the exact same biological and psychological atrophy. Look at your own behavioral architecture objectively. You tell yourself you are simply resting, recovering from the friction of the day. But rest is a deliberate, calculated protocol used to rebuild torn tissue, consolidate memory, and prepare the physiological system for the next cycle of pressure. What you are doing is completely different. You are subjecting your mind to chronic overstimulation while your physical drive experiences complete cellular aging and stagnation. You are intentionally trapping your nervous system in a loop of synthetic dopamine. You consume endless digital noise. You articulate endless complaints. You assign blame to your environment, and then you sit in a state of manufactured confusion, analyzing why your baseline reality remains entirely unchanged. I am delivering a clinical fact. Nobody is coming to intervene. Not your social circle, not your family structure, and certainly not some sudden miraculous shift in external circumstances. You are the sole architect of your own paralysis, and in the absolute silence of your own mind, you are completely aware of this fact. Your physical and neurological framework was engineered for highly complex problem solving. It was built for enduring immense cardiovascular and psychological pressure. Your heart was designed to maintain rhythm through chaos, your lungs to process oxygen under extreme physical demand, and your prefrontal cortex to dominate environments through strict, stoic discipline. You were built for absolute elevation. But instead of utilizing this biological machinery to wage a calculated war for your future, you actively choose to sedate it. You escape into artificial entertainment, into scrolling, into manufactured fantasies, and into the lowest possible frequencies of temporary chemical pleasure. And with every single repetition of this cycle, your cognitive pathways become noticeably softer. Through the biological process of synaptic pruning, your brain literally disconnects the circuits required for deep focus because you no longer demand their use. Your processing speed slows down. Your capacity for focus becomes increasingly obedient to external manipulation. You were given an intellect capable of mastering complex systems, and you have systematically converted it into a high-security prison for your own ambitions. You know exactly how you remain anchored to environments and individuals that systematically drain your cognitive bandwidth. You know that you commit treason against your own potential every single night before you sleep. That heavy, suffocating pressure inside your chest is not clinical depression alone. It is not an arbitrary anxiety disorder. It is the psychological friction of your own spirit recognizing that you have successfully mutated into someone you were never designed to become. You demand respect from your peers, yet you refuse to respect your own daily schedule. You claim you want financial and mental peace, yet you refuse to become disciplined enough to mathematically secure it. You claim you want elite status, yet you continue to behave like a casualty of modern comfort. You must understand that comfort is the ultimate biological trap. When an organism no longer faces resistance, it does not conserve energy for the future. It begins to dismantle its own structural integrity. Muscle tissue that is not actively torn and repaired begins to waste away. A mind that is not consistently pushed to its absolute limits begins to hallucinate its own fragility. You are not maintaining your current level. In the physics of human capability, there is no such thing as maintaining. You are either actively hypertrophying or you are actively decaying. Let me introduce you to a much darker psychological reality. The true threat to your existence is not failure. Failure is simply data collection. It is a necessary friction that forces structural adaptation. Pain is a highly effective mechanism for rebuilding weak character. Strategic isolation and loneliness are the exact environments required to sharpen human focus and recalibrate your autonomic nervous system. No, the ultimate terminal danger is becoming perfectly comfortable while your potential silently rots in front of your own eyes. That is the invisible trap of modern society. You wake up already operating on a cognitive deficit. You consume garbage without a single thought of physiological discipline. You surrender hours of peak brain function to algorithmic poison designed by engineers who specifically target your primal vulnerabilities. You completely ignore the blueprints of your own goals. You casually break agreements with your own reflection. And then, when the environment finally goes quiet at night, you sit there, experiencing a profound, hollow emptiness, wondering why your psychological weight feels unbearable. It feels unbearable because your subconscious mind is perfectly tracking the data. It is a flawless ledger. It is logging every single instance where you actively abandon yourself. Every ignored responsibility acts as a microscopic fracture in your confidence. Every cowardly retreat into comfort leaves a permanent scar on your character. Every excuse you verbalize actively rewrites your identity, shrinking your presence until you are entirely invisible. You tell yourself that you will start tomorrow. You tell yourself that you just need one more day to regulate your emotions. This is a catastrophic miscalculation. Emotions are highly volatile, unreliable chemical fluctuations. If you wait until your internal chemistry perfectly aligns with the required action, you will spend your entire life standing entirely still. Discipline is not an emotion. Discipline is an algorithm. It is the cold, mechanical execution of a necessary task, regardless of the internal biological weather. The weak version of you knows exactly how to manipulate your timeline. It knows your specific excuses, your fears, your emotional triggers, and your moments of loneliness. It whispers at the perfect time. It tells you to rest today, to start next week, that one more distraction will not permanently damage your trajectory. And little by little, your operational standards completely collapse. Not in one dramatic, cinematic moment of failure, but quietly. Dangerously quietly. This is exactly how people destroy their lives, not through one catastrophic decision, but through 1,000 repeated, microscopic betrayals against themselves, ignoring responsibilities, avoiding discomfort, escaping pressure, choosing temporary pleasure over long-term purpose. And after years of running this exact behavioral algorithm, people wake up trapped inside a physical reality they secretly despise. A weak routine, a weak physical baseline, a weak identity, and because they repeated this cycle for so long, they begin to hallucinate that this weakness is their actual personality. They start saying things like, "This is just how I am. I cannot change. I always fail." Who programmed you to speak about your own capabilities with such pathetic terminology? Weak habits can be surgically dismantled. Weak thinking can be clinically corrected. Weak discipline can be forged into impenetrable strength, but this requires you to completely terminate your worship of comfort. Comfort is highly seductive. It makes you feel incredibly safe, while it quietly steals your future. That is why so many individuals remain trapped in mediocre lives for decades, not because they lack baseline intelligence, but because comfort has rendered them spiritually and neurologically numb. Understand the environment you operate within. The broader social structure is actively designed to assist in your destruction. The masses will aggressively encourage you to relax. They will advise you to remain safely within the average percentiles. They have weaponized the concept of self-care to justify massive behavioral deficits. They will tell you to avoid pressure because weak, undisciplined individuals possess a violent hatred for witnessing actual, sustained effort. Your sudden shift toward intense, unyielding focus acts as a highly uncomfortable mirror reflecting their own systemic failures. So they will attempt to mock your new parameters. They will label your Stoic detachment as arrogance. They will categorize your biological discipline as an obsession. Let them formulate their opinions. Let them broadcast their insecurities. While they remain entirely unconscious, you will build. While they articulate their endless victimhood, you will refine your internal systems. While they beg external forces for relief, you will voluntarily expose yourself to the exact pressure required to become an impenetrable force. Do you operate under the delusion that highly effective individuals were manufactured with different DNA? No, they simply reached a threshold of disgust. They experienced a critical mass of self-disappointment. That is the exact mathematical variable that initiates transformation. The precise fraction of a second a man looks at his own physical reflection and definitively states that the era of weakness is permanently terminated. The biological reality is that life only yields resources to those who can navigate through intense psychological pain without initiating a surrender protocol. The universe does not reward chronic laziness masked as spiritual dreaming. You cannot manifest a higher tier of existence while simultaneously feeding the exact neurological habits that are actively dismantling it. You must violently wake up before the concept of regret becomes the only defining characteristic of your personality. Because the noise will eventually stop. The endless stream of digital distractions will cease to provide dopamine, and you will be left standing in an empty room, forced into a direct confrontation with the compound interest of every single hour you wasted pretending you had an infinite supply of time. That exact moment of silence, when cold reality corners a human mind, is what destroys people. Because suddenly, the defense mechanisms fail. There are no more highly edited motivation videos to provide a fake sense of momentum. There are no more empty social interactions to validate your stagnation. There is no more temporary pleasure capable of shielding you from the reality of your own choices. There is only the absolute, merciless truth. The truth that your current reality is the exact physical manifestation of your daily habits. It is not a reflection of your unexecuted ideas. It is not a reflection of your verbalized dreams. It is the strict, mathematical output of your habits. You are normalizing your own decay, sleeping past your alarms, flooding your receptors with unearned dopamine, actively dodging high-leverage responsibilities, and pathetically soliciting validation from a society that does not even possess the discipline to govern itself. What exactly do you hypothesize this formula yields? Elite mental fortitude? Unshakable peace? It yields nothing but a highly vulnerable state of weakness. A highly disciplined, stoic mind is a terrifying weapon. It requires zero external applause. It never begs for societal attention. It operates with ruthless, mechanical precision, even when the entire environment is betting against its survival. Stop negotiating with the decaying version of yourself. Every 24-hour cycle you delay your own growth, the friction of life increases exponentially. Every time you surrender to comfort, you are literally training your central nervous system to fail under pressure. You must become the cold monster of discipline. You must erase the concept of motivation from your vocabulary and replace it with execution. One day, the cellular aging process will finalize. You will wake up with a fraction of the physical endurance you currently possess. You will be older, chronically fatigued, and the marketplace will have entirely moved on without you. The most devastating symptom of that reality will be the sudden, crushing clarity that you possess the complete power to alter the entire trajectory of your bloodline. You had the cognitive tools, you had the time, and you had the exact psychological blueprint. But you simply chose to go back to sleep. You chose to retreat into the warm decay of comfort. You chose to surrender. Do not let that be the final summary of your existence. You are entirely responsible for the architecture of your own mind. You either build the steel today, or you will inevitably collapse under the heavy, suffocating weight of your own excuses tomorrow. The choice is strictly yours. Wake up.